Hey everybody, welcome to the Walking Dead TV podcast, episode 81. This is your host, Brad Milo. With me are my co-hosts, Jim Dietz, Russell Latham, and Jordan from Jersey, Dr. Esbar himself. How you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Just one of you?
I feel exhausted. I'm sorry. I was late to the party.
Are you dead on your feet?
Like a Walking Dead type person.
Walking Dead joke, yes.
We're getting started a little late tonight because Jim was on kid duty. How's the baby?
She's fine. I read her books, and now after reading about the mouse cookie, she's gone to bed.
The mouse cookie.
If you get a
Wait,
mouse
mouse
cookie,
cookie.
he's going to want some milk.
No, this is different. This is a mouse who bakes cookies and then falls asleep.
That's preposterous.
Johnny M is unavailable this evening, so we're forging ahead without him. It's not like he runs the show anyway.
We like to
Okay.
let him think he does.
I know it. So we have some interesting things to talk about tonight. We were going to start with a voicemail first. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I have it queued up right here.
Hi, this is Heather from Virginia. I've been listening to your Walking Dead podcast since the beginning of the second season. Love you guys. Think you do a great job, so thank you. Keep it up. Also had the opportunity to listen to Legion of Dudes for the first time a couple of weeks ago, which I also enjoyed, and is what I wanted to discuss with you, actually, as it relates to The Walking Dead. I have two little kids and I go to school, so I don't have a whole lot of time to watch TV, so really The Walking Dead is the only thing I consistently watch. And I haven't watched a lot of TV shows consistently in the past either, so I don't have a great basis for comparison, but I think it's a really, really good show, and I mean, I rate it up there with Seinfeld in my book. And what I wanted to say is that I was surprised on your Legion of Dudes podcast to hear you, I don't know, that your opinion is kind of that The Walking Dead is a mediocre show compared to some of the other shows that you watch, like Breaking Bad. And this surprised me, because like I said, I think The Walking Dead is the best show I've ever seen. Don't have a lot to compare it to, though. And also because of your enthusiasm for the show on your Walking Dead podcast. I guess I just assumed it was your favorite show. So I wanted you to maybe discuss it a little bit and, say what you think The Walking Dead needs to do to be, up there on a level with Breaking Bad and some of those other shows, or if that's even possible. And why isn't it? Is it the acting? Is it the writing? Is it just that you can only do so much with the zombie genre? Just like to hear you go into that a little bit. But really enjoy The Walking Dead TV show. Really enjoy your podcast. Like the Legion of Dudes podcast too, and we'll listen to that more if I get the chance. So keep up the good work. Take care. Bye.
Can I throw my ideas in real quick, and then I'm going to let you guys run with it, because I don't watch Breaking Bad or Mad Men, and I know you guys love those and have compared Walking Dead to them in the past. I think, at the risk of sounding pretentious, I guess that's the right word. I'm not good with words, but we all watch a whole heck of a lot of TV. And by your own admission, you haven't seen that much TV. And when you do enough of one thing, you start to notice differences that other people may not notice. You start to pick up on little things: the writing, the acting, story construction, unnecessary dialogue, necessary dialogue that's not there. Just little things. You start to get a feel for what makes a quote-unquote good show. I enjoy the heck out of some really crappy shows, and I'm sure we all do. But there are some shows that they have something about them, or a combination of several things, that just makes it a better show. And I realize we're speaking in subjectivity here. Everybody has their own favorite whatever. But if you drove cars for a living, well, that would be awesome. But you would start to notice the little differences here and there between the cars, and you would know what was the quote-unquote better car or whatever. I think a lot of it has to do with your own admission of not having really digested as much television as the rest of us.
Which probably makes you a healthier person, so congratulations.
Well, and I'm not criticizing, I'm not putting down, making fun of. I myself have cut back on the amount of television that I have watched in recent years for different reasons. Maybe because I don't have enough time, my crazy work schedule, or maybe I'm just getting old and crotchety and the TV bothers me sometimes. But am I way off, or is there any kind of truth to what I said at all?
I think you make a valid point. We definitely watch a lot more TV than Heather does. I do a podcast that's nothing but about TV, so I'm always watching new shows for that. So, we do watch a lot more TV than Heather does. And Walking Dead is one of my favorite shows, don't get me wrong. But when you really have to quantify things, like I think she's referring to our duties episode when she says, we talk about other shows being better or worse than Walking Dead, and we put Sherlock and Breaking Bad on a slightly higher pedestal than we do Walking Dead. Walking Dead is still one of my favorite shows on TV. I'm psyched every time there's a new episode. I watch it in reruns. I watch it at least a couple times before every podcast. And I love the property, and I have since I got into the comic fairly early on. So, Brad makes a really good point. Because we watch so much TV, we might catch a few things that are better than Walking Dead and kind of raise our standards a little bit. And maybe by comparison, it doesn't shine as big a light on Walking Dead, but it's still one of my favorite shows. I'm very enthused about it and really enjoy it. So.
Absolutely, I'm kind of in the same boat, and I really appreciate her question because it's something I hadn't really thought about, which is what are the one or two things that separate The Walking Dead from the few shows I would put in the great category. And I think I said on Legion of Dudes as well, but I like Walking Dead a lot. I think it's a good show. I just don't think it quite reaches the level of great, and the few shows that do are the shows that keep me guessing, and I don't know what's going to happen next, and they tend to be really tense shows where anything can happen, and anything often does happen that you weren't expecting, but it all makes sense, and a lot of that is the writing and the acting, the overall story, and I don't think it's a failing of The Walking Dead that it doesn't reach those great heights. Only a few shows do. It's still a show I really enjoy. I'm just not always on the edge of my seat, literally or just metaphorically, like I am with some of those other shows. I am sometimes with Walking Dead. There's certainly been moments where I've been literally on the edge of my seat and super excited and love an episode start to finish, but it's just not always for what under my subjective ruling would be perfect, like some of those other shows are. I still really like it. And I think the reason that we podcasted on it is we got in at the beginning. Breaking Bad I didn't start watching until I think season 2 was already done. Mad Men, it was season 2 or season 3 was already done. So it's right there at the beginning. B, it's popular. It's a really fun show to do. We get a lot of listeners. We get a lot of feedback. We get to interact with our fans more so than on a show maybe like Breaking Bad, which has fewer viewers. So it's more fun and exciting for us to podcast about it. But also it just kind of fits with our general podcast network motif of it's a comic book turned into a TV show, and I can't think of any other show on television that's more in our wheelhouse than that.
Yeah, just to peel the curtain back a little bit on that process, and I know we talked about it on the show, but the way we got the initial round of nominees was each of us, and we do this every year, each of us ranks from 1 to 5 in each category what our favorite things are. So it's very possible that, at least with The Walking Dead, it made a lot of people, amongst the group of us, there were quite a few of us that had it in the top 5. But when you compare it to how many number 1 votes things like Game of Thrones got or Fringe got or some of the other shows got, there's only 5 slots that we have for the voting, so something gets pushed down. So, there's every possibility that, 3 of us could have put it in the top 5 and it not make the final cut. and I'm pretty much in the same boat that what Brad, Jordan, and Jim had said is that I think it's a very good show. I mean, I've gotten to the point with TV watching, especially live current season TV watching. I don't watch that many shows, so for it to kind of make that list of me not wanting to wait until the season's over and to stack them up on Netflix or Amazon or some other method that it's something I watch weekly, speaks volumes for the quality of what they're doing and how I feel about the show. But when you just stack it up against things like again, beating dead horse, but Game of Thrones, which I think personally is the best show on television. I know Brad will vehemently disagree, but as far as production values, acting, storytelling, special effects, all those kind of things, it's just to me it's just a very fantastic show. Fringe I think has a special place in our heart because most of us have been that rank that high have been on it from the beginning, but knew that it kind of had this finite end. And we've on our respective shows, Legion of Doom, Half Hour Wasted, we spent a lot of time talking about Fringe. We didn't dedicate a podcast towards it, but we certainly do talk about it. And the same thing with Breaking Bad and Mad Men. I mean, as you've seen on this very feed, I don't know, Heather, if you've been listening since the beginning, but Jordan and I did last year, we called it Breaking Mad, where we talked about Breaking Bad and Mad Men on the feed just to give the listeners a flavor of the other AMC shows. And we'll follow that up in the future with another one. I think we're going to save that actually until the interseason hiatus right before Mad Men starts and a couple months before Breaking Bad kicks off.
And we're going to talk more about what we'd like to see in Walking Dead in the second half of the season later on in this episode. But before we get to that and a few other things, Russ, why don't you tell us about our sponsor?
I sure will. Our sponsor is Discount Comic Book Service. That's DCBService.com, where you can save a ton of money off your comics trades, graphic novels, toys, statues, t-shirts, all kinds of cool stuff. The January orders are coming in. This will be up at the very, very tail end of January, very early February. If you do have a late order into February, just shoot them an email and let them know that, hey, you placed the order a little late. They'll be more than happy to take care of it. I've done that in the past. I'm usually guilty of the last minute order for sure. You can go to their website. If you're into digital comics, I know we talked about this before, but you can earn 5% back of your Comixology purchase through the DCBService.com website as 5% back towards your actual physical comic purchases. So, or whatever through DCBS. Like I said, if you're Walking Dead fans and you're not really into the comics per se, but there's a cool T-shirt or a coffee mug or something like that they have, it's definitely worth picking up. But some of the comic stuff Walking Dead related to highlight this month are the free comic book day special. And like we talked about last time, DCB Service allows you to pick out 5 free comic book day books. And this year, The Walking Dead does have a special book on there, so you can pick that. Also, they're doing a Walking Dead: The Governor special, which I think reprints the first appearance of the Governor and some other stuff in there. It's on sale for 50% off of $2.99, so you can get that for $149. Really good deal. They're soliciting again a second printing of the Michonne special that came out a couple months back, which reprints the first appearance of Michonne from the Walking Dead comic and the Playboy magazine strip that they did in there, so you can get them both in that. I got that actually when they solicited first time. It's a pretty cool little issue. Walking Dead, the monthly side, issue number 108 is out, 40% off. You can get it for $1.79. And there's just a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, a lot of cool. There are always T-shirts, coffee mugs, action figures, all kinds of crazy little tchotchkes that you can get. So if you go to their website, DCBService.com, they have the previous catalog in text form and the Excel order sheet. If you want to just kind of peruse through there and submit your order, we thank them for their sponsorship of the Walking Dead TV podcast.
Right on. So our big news story this week is we now know who is going to be taking over after Glenn Mazzara steps down as showrunner. Mazzara's going to be staying on through the end of the season, but after that it'll be Mr. Scott Gimple who will be taking over. When Darabont left, Gimple was named Mazzara's number 2 by Mazzara, and he wrote a couple episodes in season 2. He wrote 2 episodes this season. One we've already seen, and one we have not seen will be the second to last episode of the season. And so he will be taking over. And we had a little bit more information come out as to possibly why Mazzara stepped down. We know there's creative differences between he and AMC, but according to the Hollywood Reporter, they say sources told THR that Mazzara's shortcomings in running the series became abundantly clear, especially for the second half of the season, with production shut down several times because of a lack of material. So I mean, we talked about it quite a bit with how fast they were moving through the season. Apparently, that was also a problem on set, or at least according to unnamed sources. So that seems to be the reason why he stepped down. We'll have Mr. Gimple taking over, and he's at least been with the show now for 2 full seasons, so he hopefully should have a good idea of how things are run to keep the train on the tracks, as they say.
How can you run out of material for the show?
Well, I mean, I think they're just moving through stuff so fast. Writing new scripts, they're throwing so much material in every episode. Maybe they weren't planning to go as far as they did.
Well, I mean, he wasn't writing every episode himself, right? I mean, don't they have a team of writers?
Right, but it's his job to coordinate that and put these people on this project, these people on the other project.
Plus, the showrunner kind of sets the tone for not only for the scripts but also for the directors who do each individual episode. So I mean, there are always a lot of rewrites to do, or reblocking of scenes, of things like that. So I mean, any of those things could have easily stalled production. I'm just glad we have somebody who's been with the show for a little while, kind of has an idea of what makes a successful episode of Walking Dead, rather than bringing someone in from the outside, cold, who doesn't know the show at all.
So what has this guy done outside of Walking Dead?
He's also worked on the TV show Chase, which I have not seen, Flash Forward, which I watched all of that the series, and a show called Life as well.
Chase was pretty good. That was the one I think with Nathan Fillion about the car race.
I remember that now.
Yeah, it was really good, and it was again one of those Fox shows that they put the axe to. I think after like 3 episodes or something like that. But I really enjoyed it. And again, it just poor Nathan Fillion, he just doesn't get his chance on Fox. But I think
Life was the show about the guy who was a cop who had been wrongfully imprisoned and sentenced to life in prison and then released after 10 years.
Yeah, Damian Lewis.
Right, who's on Homeland now.
Yeah, both those guys I think are doing pretty well. They got very popular current gigs with Fillion doing Castle and Damian Lewis doing Homeland. So maybe in the end it worked out better for both of them.
He also apparently did some writing on the cartoon Pepper Ann, which I remember quite fondly.
Oh yeah.
Pepper Ann must be cool for 7th grade. Pepper Ann, she's a wonder. I think it's that one. Anyway, it was a fun show, as I remember it from when I was about 9.
It's funny. I know we kind of hinted at it a little bit, but we kind of speculated last time as to why Mazzara was going to leave. And I will say I called it, although we don't have anything official, but it looks like some of it had to do with him and Kirkman specifically having a bit of a difference of opinion. And I know they've cited some other things, but it's kind of a shame. I mean, I hate for somebody to leave under maybe not so ideal terms. And I think some people were kind of quick to jump on Kirkman, and sometimes I think people just aren't a fit, or maybe it just doesn't work the way way they think it's going to go. And when you have that kind of a show or any kind of movie, TV show production, and it's getting, if the reports are true, that is, and the project is getting shut down because of disorganization or whatever the reason. I mean, that's real time and real money. That's kind of getting flushed if you can't keep the train running on time. So
if that's the reason why they let him go, because of the way the production was functioning, I can understand that. But if it's because they don't like the quality of the shows or think the shows have been in the wrong direction, that I don't understand, because the last 2 half seasons that Mazzara's been in charge of have been downright awesome.
Yeah, and it may be that we're only seeing the end product, right? I mean, we don't see what goes in to get to that point. So maybe if there are deficiencies or things that where he started on the right track and then the wheels fell off the wagon, if AMC stepped in or Kirkman stepped in or somebody stepped in to kind of write it back on its course, then we saw the benefit of that. We didn't see what happened to get it to that point. So I mean, it's one of those deals I think where we'll never know really the full story of what happened. Based on what I saw of again the second half of season 2, the first half of season 3, it didn't show the poor quality or lack of whatever on Mazzara's part didn't shine through. Like it seemed to be, I think we all were in agreement that the show has been on a positive course as opposed to a negative course since that point.
And the official word from AMC was that both parties said there was a difference of opinion about where the show should go moving forward, into season 4. So it would also be possible that, he wanted to take the show in some direction in terms of story that they just said we can't afford, or we don't think that's going to sell, or we just don't think it's a good idea. It's one of those things we'll never really know.
Walking Dead, the musical.
Oh, I would so watch that. That'd be awesome. So that's enough on that news story. We're now going to move forward and talk about an article you can read at WalkingDeadTV.com or HHWLOD.com by our good friend Aaron North, host of Out Now with Aaron and Abe, one of the hosts of Out Now with Aaron and Abe, the other being, of course, Abe. He is also a big Walking Dead fan. You've probably heard him on the show if you've been a long-time listener. And he wrote an article titled 5 Things I Want from the Rest of this Season of The Walking Dead. And Aaron's an excellent writer. You should definitely check out his piece. We're not going to read it word for word, A, because that would be boring, and B, because we want you to read it. But we're going to jump off of his main points and talk about them, and that should also expand on what we were talking about earlier with Heather's voicemail. So, point number 1, the first thing he wants to see in the rest of the season of The Walking Dead, he wants them to slow down. Now, we just kind of talked about that a little bit, but you guys want to expound on your thoughts on the pace of the season thus far.
Slow down. So that means he thinks the pace has been too quick. That's what I get from what he's saying here. I love it. I mean, I love the nonstop frenetic pace. I mean, what about you guys? You guys want it to slow down? Remember, Aaron, what it was like the second half of last season? They slowed down, or the first half of last season? It was pretty slow.
That doesn't mean there can't be a happy medium, though. We're happy.
Are you guys unhappy with the pace?
I almost feel like it's Goldilocks syndrome. I feel like the first season was too slow, and I feel like this season might be a little bit too fast. I see Aaron's point in the piece. He kind of was missing out on some of the characterization we got when they took the time to let the characters talk to one another and develop as people in favor of a lot of action. I think that's really cool. I'm all for the action-packedness of it, but I agree with Jordan. I think there could be a medium start between the two, where it's not the frenetic pace we've had for the first half of the third season, but it's also not the glacial pace of the first season.
I'm fine with the pace in general. I think we talked about this before about concerns of it burning through the trades. And I'll use the analogy to the comic because that's kind of, I think, us comic readers, that's where this analogy comes from. Slow down is because we're comparing it to where things are in the comic compared to where it is in the TV seasons. I'm fine with it. I would even be fine if they were to move past the comics and we could see where Kirkman could take the show without being shackled by the book. But I do agree with Aaron's comment. One of the things he brings up in the article is slowing down the character deaths. That we don't have to have every season 3 or 4 or 2 or whatever. Where they either introduced a character and killed them off, or it's a long-standing or his character has been there from the beginning and have to kill that character off to prove a point. And I think we've seen enough of that so far. So I'm with him there because I think too it just gets to be where and this is a criticism I think I've made of the comic in recent time is it just gets to the point where you think they're doing it just for shock value and it kind of diminishes the impact of it, or you come to expect it instead of it kind of hitting you on the head out of nowhere. So I agree that I would like to see that slow down a little bit. I think they kind of ramp that up this season. I think we're at a spot. I mean, obviously the finale they'll probably do something shocking, but I don't think it's necessary to have it as often as they have.
To paraphrase The Incredibles, when every episode is special, no one is.
Right.
Make those character deaths, make those big action episodes be something you're looking forward to, and not just every single time.
Agreed.
The second thing Aaron wants to see in the second half of the season is to expand on the new characters. We got Michonne, we got Tyrese, the Governor, and a few others, and I think I definitely agree with him on this, especially in the first half of the season. This was a problem that we mentioned a few times that, going back to the first point, slowing down could have helped with. We still don't understand where in the world Michonne is coming from for the most part, and I do kind of worry going forward in the second half, is it going to be the same thing with Tyrese? Is he just going to show up every once in a while and do something without explaining it, and we have to debate for 20 minutes on what did he mean by that, or what was he trying to do? It's one thing if you don't know at the end of the episode what their motivation was and they tell you at the beginning of the next episode. It's another when you're 6-7 episodes in and you still really aren't sure why in the world they're doing something.
I agree. I think expanding on some of these newer characters would I think make the show a little more interesting, keep it from being stale. I think there's a lot of interesting characters that they pulled in, and to get more backstory, to get more information, or get more focus on them, I think will be a good thing to help diversify the show a little bit. So I agree with that point.
I think the pace of the season has interfered with their ability to do this, taking the time to get to know these characters. I mean, I feel like we should know a lot more about Michonne than we do, and we've all been waiting for certain things to happen with Michonne that we might have seen in the comic that really kind of shed light on what her deal is. But again, this is not the comic, it's a TV show. But yeah, I would agree with this point also. I would love to finally get some backstory on Michonne. I hope we don't go the rest of the season before we learn about Tyrese and what his deal is. So I'm there.
The third thing that Aaron wants to see this season is more self-contained episodes. The examples he gives are 18 Miles Out and Walk With Me. And I think it would be difficult in this particular arc they're in, but I would like to see them as well. Maybe once they get away from Woodbury, I'm assuming they'll be away from it for an episode or two. Maybe they could have some other thing that comes up and distracts them. I don't need a sitcom or even a sitcom, if you will, but I just need those episodes that you can watch without having to see the episode before and after it for it to make sense are a welcome thing in television, and drama and comedy in ongoing narratives as well as the more segregated ones. It's just a good thing to have every once in a while.
Remember that episode of The Walking Dead when Jack had to bring those 2 zombies home and convince Mr. Roper that
that he was gay for zombies?
Yes.
I think this is a good point. 18 Miles Out is one of my favorite episodes so far after rewatching everything. And I think, like you said, Jordan, once the Woodbury cycle is kind of quieted down a little bit, we could definitely, I like it when they break off and they concentrate on a few characters at a time. I mean, imagine how much the Dixon Vixens would love it if they had a Merle and Daryl centric episode, or if they just, instead of having to give everybody in the ensemble something to do, we could have a few episodes where you're just focusing on 2 or 3 at a time. And I think that would work.
Agreed.
I would say that if you want that, Aaron, then you should rewatch season 1 again. Pretty much while 6 of those episodes were, there was a continuing story, but you could go back right now and watch any one of those 6 episodes, and it would feel like its own self-contained little story with a beginning, middle, and end.
That's true, but again, I would go back to that there is a middle ground there. It doesn't have to be slow and self-contained. It can be exciting and self-contained, like, the better half of 18 Miles Out.
Jordan, my world is black and white. You haven't figured that out yet?
That's right, I forgot your half dog. Darn it. That probably came off as mean. It was not intended to.
I have no idea are you calling me a mog?
Dogs are colorblind.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I didn't know that, actually. That's interesting. The things you learn by listening and participating in podcasts.
I don't know if it's actually true. It might be one of those bats are blind thing. No, bats are not blind.
Let me go ask Hank. Hank's my dog.
Oh, does he speak English?
No.
Well, okay. Well, good luck with that. I think I forget who said the idea, but an episode focusing on Merle and Daryl, maybe as they're running through the woods or something like that. Them on the run could be an exciting thing that focuses mostly on them, or an episode that focuses mostly on Tyrese's group, or Glenn and Maggie, or something like that, without having to give everybody their moment to shine. And that's something we've talked about in the past. When you try to give every character something to do, you end up with a bunch of T-dogs who say one line here or there and are mostly inconsequential. And it can also, it's we've talked about in the past, it was mostly in season 2, but where they were trying to do that and it was slowing down the pace. Here, it seems like they've sped up the pace, but some characters are still getting short shrift. And I'd like to see them more. Give me a Carol and Daryl episode, or Carol, Daryl, and Merle episode, where it's just focus on their story and it still moves the plot forward, but just focusing on them. I don't need to see Carl every episode. Chandler Riggs is great, but I don't need to see Rick every episode, or I don't need to see every character every episode. It's absolutely fine to shake things up every once in a while. Point number 4 of things Aaron would like to see in the rest of the season. He would like them to make Andrea less annoying.
I think personally this one's going to take care of itself. I know there's been a lot of critique on Andrea, especially with her behavior in Woodbury. I know I talked about it on previous shows where I saw that interview with Kirkman on The Talking Dead, and his explanations for Andrea's motivations was enough to kind of pacify me. But I think, based on what I'm hearing from folks involved with the second half of season 3 and interviews I read, I think this is going to take care of itself. I think she's going to start to either come around and realize what's really going on, or go all in and just be a part of the Woodbury group. So I hope and I think that this will be a non-issue come end of season 3.
I had such high hopes for Andrea's character when the show started. She may have been the one I was looking forward to the most to see her develop, because I love her character in the book. And as we've said a million times, this isn't the book, and her character has taken quite a diversion from the book's version of her. So, do you think Robert Kirkman sleeps a full 8 hours at night, or do you think he stays up at night thinking, oh crap, I forgot, am I doing the show tomorrow, or am I writing the comic? Is this supposed to happen in the next issue of the comic, or was I going to do that in the show? I think I would go nuts if I was Robert Kirkman.
If I had to sleep on all that money, I think my back would hurt and I wouldn't sleep very well. So,
Point.
And I continue not to really be annoyed by Andrea, so I'm fine with whatever. Point number 5 of things Aaron would like to see in this second half of the season is to utilize the prison setting. Now, I'll give you a little bit more information on this one just to clarify things. His first paragraph is, my last thought regarding how the show can get better is in regards to one of its current main settings. The prison is one of the most iconic locations of the Walking Dead universe, and I feel like the show has barely shown it to us. We've seen some of the outside perimeter, a cold and sterile living area indoors, and lots of dark hallways. There are a lot more interesting things about having the show's main cast in a prison, besides just letting them occasionally explore dark hallways. I would really like to see some more exploration of the territory. Surely Rick and the gang would like to know more about the possible threats there are to living in this environment, let alone if there's a possibility of more supplies being located somewhere. How confusing was it at first glance to see Tyrese and his company enter the prison through a giant hole in some building? I know I was not the first one who thought it may have been Woodbury they were entering. I kind of really agree with this. I know part of it is going to be they're limited by their sets, or they're using a location by what parts of the location they can use, but a sense of space is really important in something like this, particularly once the inevitable battle between Woodbury and the prison happens. It's going to happen sooner or later, and in an action-packed thing like that, you really need to know where you are. It works when they attack Woodbury when you don't really know Woodbury, because neither do they, but when your main characters are defending a location, you need to understand where things are in relation to other things, otherwise the action just really falls apart and gets confusing.
Plus, the prison is much more of a character in the comic than it is in the show. Aaron makes a good point. In the comic, the prison, the way that they use camera angles in there, or they use the shadows from the bars, for instance, or the walls or whatever, it's a lot more than they do in the show, in the comic.
Yeah, I agree. We talked about this too earlier in the season on the show, that to me the prison is just lacking the scope that the book shows. Their quote unquote cell block just feels like a large, or small warehouse that they're filling out. And I know, again, a lot of it has to do with budget, a lot of it just has to do with sets and locations. But that's one of the things I really miss, is feeling like they're in this huge cell block with echoes and like you guys said, it was a character in and of itself. And I think that's a big part that's missing of what's going on.
One thing in the book, Charlie Adler can draw the prison in a number of different ways, as far as like seeing outside views of it over the head, like bird's eye views, or long distant wide shots set in a setting of nothing, but trees. And there's only so much of that you can do on TV without having to spend more money on CG to remove some telephone, well, there would still be telephone wires, like moving cars and on wide shots and stuff like that, stuff that make buildings look dilapidated and stuff like that. So it's easier to, I would imagine, to draw what you want to see instead of having to take something and change it for television.
Well, I definitely understand and agree, but I still think it's going to be very important to have that sense of space. Just for instance, their cell block that they're holed up in, where does that connect to the outside? Where does that connect to the other cell block that they had the prisoners in? Where does that connect to the guard tower? And we have a sense of the guard tower that seems to be really close, but just even a sense of how those main spaces connect would go a long way. And I'm not saying this is, they're doing such a terrible job of it now. I just think it's something that they do need to do.
Yeah, there was no question of where you were when you were reading the book, like what part of the prison they were in. You just kind of had a mental image of how it all fit together. And you're absolutely right. It seems like whenever they're outside, there's like a new door that they're using to go inside to get to the same place. You know what I mean? It's like there must be 10 different doors that all lead to their cell block from the outside of the
People used to escape from there all the time. Right. So many doors. And on the subject of the prison being a character, I would actually disagree a little bit, in the sense that I think at least in the first episode where they infiltrated the prison, I really did get the feeling that it was a character. You had those great, the light, the rooms being only illuminated by the light coming in through the dirty windows, and great use of shadow. I think I even mentioned in the episode, I don't think they've done that every time they've shown the prison, but when they have done it well, it has been excellent. So those were Aaron's 5 things he wants to see in the second half of the season. I now open the floor to my esteemed co-hosts. What do you guys want to see that he didn't mention? Is there anything in particular that you do want to see, or even on the converse, what things don't you want to see in the second half of season 3? Whether they were actually in the first half, or whether you just don't want to see them crop up, out of nowhere.
I don't want to see any more major deaths this season. I think
None at all.
None at all. I think you had a good point. It seems like not knowing when it's going to happen, waiting, is this the episode? No. Is this the episode? No. Is this the episode? No. When's it going to happen? And then for it to not happen, like, can you imagine thinking, there hasn't been a death all the rest of the season. Somebody's going to die in the finale of the season. And then it doesn't happen, and they'll be like, dang it, I got to wait 6 months. I just think it works sometimes to not give the viewer what they're expecting. And at this point, I'm expecting more deaths by the end of the season. And that's what I'm saying. Don't give it to me. Don't give me what I expect. I think it'd be more effective for Brad.
And I agree that the shows I love, going back to the voicemail, are the shows that don't give me what I expect, that surprise me at every turn. more The Walking Dead can do with that, the better.
I mean, aren't we all expecting more death? Because it seems like they've been fairly generous with that as far as main characters go, haven't they?
Absolutely, and they've already introduced Tyrese's group now, which has 3 red shirts, one who's probably already dead. I can't remember if she actually had died or was just on the verge at the close of the first half of the season. But it seems like, there's our cannon fodder. In addition to a bunch of nameless Woodbury residents.
Jim Dietz,
Yes.
I want you to, I know you're here. I want you to tell me who you think's going to be the next main character to die. And again, listeners, this is just me asking Jim who he thinks. We have no knowledge.
I think Andrea. I think there's going to be a big showdown between the Woodbury folks and the prison folks. I think Andrea's going to get caught in the crossfire. At least this version of Andrea.
See, that would not surprise me. That's all. That would feel expected, and if that happened, I would be disappointed. Not because Andrea is not my favorite character anymore, but because I would expect something like that.
You want to surprise me? Kill off Rick.
That would shock me.
Yeah.
And I love Andrew Lincoln in the role. You want to surprise me? Kill him off. I dare you. Otherwise, there's not really any death that would shock me at this point. You got to give me some more time. Yeah, but even with that, I love Carl. It wouldn't really shock or surprise me if he died.
This is why I think they need to hold off on that major death.
I think you're absolutely right.
They need to hold off. They need to let us fall in love with these characters all over again. They need to let Andrea redeem herself, become the badass that we know and love from the book. We need to really fall in love with Tyrese and his gang. We need to see, we're already in love with Rick, with Daryl. Some of us were in love with Shane, and then he died. That was so painful for some people to see Shane die. And I want the next time. See, I didn't care about Lori, and seeing her die didn't bother me. But seeing T-Dog die, I love the guy. I want the next person that dies to be somebody that I care about, that I want to live. And if they keep serving up death like it's ice cream at social, I'm not going to give a crap anymore.
Do they still have ice cream socials in Texas?
My parents actually went to an ice cream social a few months ago, yes.
That sounds fantastic.
They do.
Remind the viewers again, the listeners again, where they can read that article, and they should. Aaron is a very good reviewer. He doesn't do it just for us; he does it for other websites as well. So
yeah, you can find his article at hhwlod.com or WalkingDeadTV.com. It's entitled 5 Things I Want from the Rest of the Season of The Walking Dead, and of course, you can listen to his awesome podcast, Out Now with Aaron and Abe, also at hhwlod.com or WalkingDeadTV.com. Any other things you guys would like to add that you'd like to see or not see in the second half of the season?
I guess one of the things I don't want to, and Aaron kind of mentions this in his article, but for me it kind of hits home. It's another double-edged sword, right? I don't want to see the show become lost, and I say that meaning where we get tons of flashbacks to flesh out story. I think to some degree it's interesting that we only know of characters, previous lives through little things they say or little things they do, and it's kind of up to us to figure out what's really going on. I don't need to have that spoon-fed. I think for some characters it would be interesting to know like how they got to that point. Like I don't really need to see a backstory on Maggie or Herschel, or at this point I think Rick, Andrea, or Glenn, or any of those guys. I think it might be kind of neat to see something on Michonne, maybe the governor. Maybe a little bit of Merle and Daryl, just because they have kind of this very interesting and antagonistic relationship with each other. I think there could be some value added there to help tell the story currently. But I don't want to see it to where that becomes a crutch on the show, to where they can not have to advance the story and move things forward by relying on 20% of an episode or 30% of an episode being the story that takes place before all the the world went to hell.
I want to see them develop Tyrese's character. He's one of my favorite characters in the comics. I'm glad to see him on the show now. I know we had speculation earlier on that T-Dog was supposed to be Tyrese, but he obviously wasn't. And I'm glad to see him on the show now. I hope they're able to develop his character and keep him around a bit.
And on that note, I think we're Walking Dead it out for the week. Jim, why don't you tell the fine folks out there how they can contact us?
There are many various ways you can get a hold of us. You can leave us a voicemail at 516-468-7912, just like Heather did today. We'll read on the show, we'll play on the show more than likely, and answer any questions or comments that you have about Walking Dead or about the podcast itself. You can go to WalkingDeadTV.com, where you can find all of our wonderful podcasts about the Walking Dead TV show, and even more so, you can go to hhwlod.com and check out our entire podcast network, including the Legion of Dude show that Heather talked about, the Out Now with Aaron and Abe movie review show we just mentioned that Aaron, our columnist, runs every week, and a veritable plethora of other pop culture goodies there for you at the hhwlod.com network. So check that out by all means.
And so until there's no more room left in hell and the dead walk the earth, remember, Riders of the Walking Dead, kill off Rick and make Tyrese the main character. Now that would surprise me, and in a very good way. Have a good week, everybody.
Every day I be zombie shuffling.
Hey-o.
Hit it.
Testing.
Testers.
Come on.
Spectacles.
This is-
Testers while at lunch.
This is Mark number one. Isn't this a lot of fun?
This is my favorite
Jim,
one.
are you or Jordan familiar with The Lonely Island?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard either of their albums?
Both of them.
I like the bit where they go, "My mic sounds nice, check 1. My mic sounds nice, check 2." And they go through all these different voices. It's pretty funny. And then they get to 7, and it's like a choir. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, they had the new song YOLO.
Yeah,
this week.
that was pretty unimpressive if you ask me. That song.
It's not as funny as some of the other stuff.
No, it's not. My mic sounds nice, check 1.
I like it better than Big in Japan, though.
I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
It's on
it's on
it's on our website. It's like on the front page of our website. There's
Oh, there you have it. Shows how much
you may have
I
heard of it. It's called hhwlod.com.
This
How do you
little
spell
thing. Yeah, it's this little thing that we have. Somebody spent some time on it. I don't know. Whatever.
Did we lose Jim?
No, I'm here.
Okay, just didn't want to,
Jordan, you got to know when to hold them, and you got to know when to fold them, brother.
Thank you, Brad.